Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in Java programming series in 2025. And in this video, we'll be talking about switch statements in Java. In our last videos, we talked about if else and nested if and else, right? So in this video, we'll be covering the similar thing but using switch statement. And switch has some similarities and some differences with if else, which I will show you in the code. So rather than going for explanation, let me create a file and then we will see how it exactly works. All right, so I'm going to be creating a file, compact file, and I'm going to name it as switch statement or switch demo, for example. And so the syntax for switch is like switch keyword and then like a variable here. And so this body, and in this body we will have like different cases, for example case 1, case 2, or some other different cases. It could be like a string or something like that, but it has to be like a single variable. The important thing to remember is it cannot be like a boolean expression. um, in if else we can have boolean expression here, right? For example, we can have a is greater than 18 or a is less than 18, but in switch we can't have. So first of all, I would like to combine taking input from the console, and then we'll be looking at one of the scenarios, right? So in programming, we have different logging labels. So logging labels, they refer to when something is happening in the server. So usually developers write some logging message, and then they have like different label. For example, we have info, we have warning, and then we have error, right? So depending on the logging type, we can read the message and also identify the criticality. So we'll be covering this same scenario, but don't worry about the logging. It's just like going to be a simple scenario. It has nothing to do with logging, in fact. So or we can also do something like, for example, if it is Sunday, it's weekend. If it is Saturday, it's weekend, and similar case, right? So I'll be going with this logging message. So concept is essentially the same. Let me create a switch statement. So switch, and then this inside parentheses, we are required to give some expression, some variable, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep like some message for user to enter. So I'm going to be saying, we can say io.println. So enter the logging label, and then what we can do is inside in string logging type, or we can say logging label equals to, all right, I'm going to be creating a scanner equals new scanner, and then system dot in. So I'm taking input from console, and then scanner dot next line. All right. Or even we can go with next here. That's fine because it will be only one word. And here I will be passing this logging tab. Whatever user enters, this is going to be passed here. That means now, so we'll be writing if equivalent. So if logging type is equal message, or sorry, info, do something. If logging type is equal warning, do something, and so on, right? So for example, and then to represent that, we're not going to use if else here. So it should have a special syntax called yes. And then here, so whatever user enters, it is going to be here, right? Some of the conditions. For example, we can have info, all right? And then after we write info, we are giving colon and then storing some message on a variable, right? So for that, I can do a string message equals to by default null. And then what I can do is message equals to, so when something is info, that means it's just like a regular. application is fine, I can say application is working fine, or you can say no issue, right? So no issues. All right. And then, so when we write some message and we are done with some writing, we must break. So otherwise, it will keep executing other cases as well. I mean, it's fine not to write break if it is the last case. Otherwise, we must write it, right? And so, for example, case and then warning. If it is warning, we can say application is running but need investigation, right? Investigation. So we need some investigation, and we also need to break and case, and then if it is error, and then message equals to application crashed, right? Because if something wrong happened, application crash. This is usually referred to as error. And then we are also going to break, right? Now we have covered all the three levels, right? But here, so sometimes what if like someone passes a different error? So we can also cast that with the help of what if, if this logging type is other than info, warning, and error, we can cast that. It's just like saying if info, if warning, if error, else do something. All right, so then that can be caught with the help of default, and then in default unknown type. All right, and since it is the last one, we don't need break. So here I assigned everything, so I'll be like removing these lines, and okay, I'll just remove the space, and I will print as out logging message and then message. Okay, and so if I run it, let me run this, and enter the logging label info, logging application is working fine, no issues, right? And if I enter warning, if this line will be printed. So what happens if we remove break? So I'm going to be like doing control slash comment this line out, and now let's see info application is running but needs investigations. Do you know why? Because this I as soon as I removed this line, this case was executed, and then the message was overwritten with the help of this particular line. So we just lost this line, right? So it's very important to keep a break, otherwise our application will have bug. So, and for example, okay, let me run once more. And then if I run something different, like invalid, unknown type, right? Because this is not one of these types. And that was about like this is usually like the traditional way of, I mean, I'm not saying it is bad, but now we have another way of writing logging statement. All right. So for that, we can use something known as enhanced switch. And then this also has the same syntax. So I'll be saying enhanced switch. So it has the same syntax, switch, and then logging type, right? So now instead of writing this break and everything, so what we can do is case and then info and just this lambda expression. So this arrow, this can be considered as lambda, and I can do message equals to same. This message I'm going to be copying. Okay, and there we go. So for info case, we have covered this. And for something else, what I can do is for warning is and then warning and sorry, and then masses equals to this warning. Okay, so I'm going to be copying this. warning, and there we go. And also case error, and then application crashed, app crashed. I forget message equals app crashed, and then we also have default, and then in default we can say message equals on no one died. All right, and so and after that we can print message. Okay, all right, so this message, last message, for now I'll be like just commenting this out, just like this, and I'll be running this. Okay, so enter the logging label, and I'm gonna say info application is running, right? And if I run it again, error and application crashed. So this is how we can implement in enhanced loop, but it has more than, so for example, sometimes it's not like this. We can return value directly and store in a variable. For example, like what if we want something like this? Okay, I'll be writing semicolon here, and then we'll be doing something. Okay, so here instead of like assigning it to message, what I can do is just leave like this, right? That means if it is single line, this return value is going to be assigned to this message. It is like saying message equals to something. Okay, I'm going to be removing this as well. I'm going to be removing this as well, and this as well. All right, and now we have message because we have commented out here, so the message will be coming from this one. All right, and logging label info, and there we go, right? And sometimes, if you want, for example, let's say you want something, the app crashed warning, or for example error, or so for example out of memory application crashed, you can say, right? If there is like a different type, so you can also combine that. Similarly, you can also combine here as well. So for that, you can just append, for example, here as well. If I uncomment it out, error, and then also case here, OOM. And so now if you pass error or OOM out of memory, and then this will be printed, right? So you can combine. So it is not new only in enhance, but the way of combining is a little bit different. For example, here you just append it and then app class. So now if I also pass OOM, okay, look at this, application crashed. Not only that, here we omitted break keyword, and then also this is pretty short as compared to this one. And sometimes, let's say if you want to return value explicitly and also print, you cannot do here because it's a single line, right? So what you can do is you can just remove this and then write this curly bracket and then just here. And so if you want something like info, okay, info and then logging type. All right, so info logging type. But now since we are not returning this value, we can just leave it like this, right? So what we have to do is yield. So this yield means, okay, return this value and assign to this variable. All right, so that's pretty much it. So if I do it again here as out, so for example info and then logging type. All right, let me remove this logging type info because I'm just going to be printing logging type to avoid confusion, and yield and then this one, and for error and this one, and yield upcrest and s out logging type. Okay, logging type. Or sometimes, if you don't want to print here anything, right? You can directly combine the previous syntax you can do and remove yield, right? Because if it is a single line, no yield is required. And also for default, you can do the same thing, right? But if you need multiple statements, you can include that in like a curly bracket and then print something and write yield. So yield is essentially saying return something. All right. So now if I run it, enter the logging type, for example, OEM app crashed, that's working perfectly fine. And so if I do info, I will get one printed statement and then this will be printed right there. So I'll be like getting printed message, info, and then some masses. Okay, look at this info and then some masses here. All right, so that was it for this video. So you can have a look at this and also compare. So, and also, this IDE is giving some suggestion. It directly suggests you replace with switch expression. So if I click it, look at this. Now it just wrote the same equivalent code, but we have here multiple statements, right? I'm gonna be like doing Control Z so that you can compare these two and also look at the benefits. So, and one of the important things in between if else is you cannot do logging type equal something, right? You cannot do it because it has to be like a single variable. Otherwise, it will not work. So in if else, you can have Boolean expression, right? But here you cannot have Boolean expression. All right, so that was pretty much it for this video. I hope you will like it, and if you have any questions, please comment down, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.